It's emergency pod time, folks. That was a day that a lot of things were unexpected. Welcome to the emergency podcast version of the Tigers Minor League Report presented by FanDuel. I'm Rohelic. Still alongside me is Brandon Day. Chris Uper should be here in a second. And it's one of the most chaotic days in Tigers offseason history as pitchers and catchers are set to report tomorrow. We just talked to Ryan Garko, and that will be available first for our Patreon supporters and everyone else on Friday. Thanks to everybody who's we got a couple participation questions from our fine Patreon folks, and thanks again for answering the call for that. But yeah, we'll talk about the FanDuel odds of what happened today. If you expected Justin Verlander to be in Tigers uniform, it's a dream come true for a lot of fans, folks. But Brandon, I'll start with you because did you see this coming? I freely admit I thought he would go to Baltimore, close to home. I thought because the Tigers don't do this kind of, the feelings, sappy reunion stuff. But then it all makes sense, and we'll get to why it makes sense here in a second. But good God, man! Like it was just like it was a mad scramble.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, full disclosure, I'm a huge Justin Verlander fan, probably my favorite Tiger ever, and so I can't help but be like super thrilled. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, quite a bit the last 2 years, and it was just always like I could understand what the reasoning for shying away from it and being a little bit, concerned about a situation where he comes, he's back, everybody's excited, and then he doesn't pitch well, and it's a mess, and you ultimately have to release, a franchise icon. All that stuff is a little bit scary, but circumstances have just aligned. We shout out to Evan Petzold for some good groundwork to kind of get the scoop that that Reese Olson was not on track to start the season, and as we found out today, it's worse than that, and he's going to miss the whole year. We kind of knew that was coming, and I mean they went ham to address the situation, and I mean shout out to Chris Ilitch because I've beaten him up for 2 years now, and Scott Harris too, really, that they finally kind of recognize the situation, recognize that this is probably the last year of Tarek Skubal. We can talk about the broadcast situation, but the Tigers are on their own now. They're not just getting a contract and then it's on FanDuel Sports or Bally or anybody else to sell the broadcast. They have to sell it themselves. So there's business reasons behind this as well. But yeah, I'm stoked to have him. It's going to be fun. I'm very interested to see him kind of just the visuals of Justin Verlander joining this team and pitching to Dylan Dingler and Jake Rogers, who he was traded for, working with Chris Fetter. You have AJ Hinch and Framber Valdez and Justin Verlander all reunited again, all former Astros at one point. So I mean, there's just so many different angles, and I'm sure we were today scrambling, trying to write as much about it as we could. That the entire Detroit sports world and MLB world in general are tripping over themselves to enjoy just having this story to write about. I mean, it's as good a reunion story as you're going to get. Clayton Kershaw never left the Dodgers. Max has been all over the place. Justin Verlander coming home to Detroit is pretty huge. So altogether, a heck of a crazy day.
Well, folks, I'm glad that people like the mustache. And there's a reason. I just wanted to do something else.
I'm liking it.
26. It's going to be the handlebar. Everybody's going to ride the handlebars to a World Series. Woo! No, I'm just joking. A little bit. But no, Chris, what about you? You same thing. You just sent me a holy shit moment, text, and I was because I just got back from my desk. I'm like, what the hell? My phone kept. I was doing a meeting, and so it was going. And I was like, it was going on. Go ahead.
Well, I talked to you a little bit before this. In the last couple of seasons, we've had a couple times where the things that fans really seem to want, and we're up here saying nah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It didn't make a whole lot of sense for them to re-sign Jack Flaherty, and then it did because he was cheap and it wasn't a long-term deal. I'm it didn't really make sense to go after Framber Valdez, and now it does because you get him a short-term deal, and like you said, Brandon, there's so much that could theoretically go wrong with bringing Verlander back, and we've touched on it before, he wasn't necessarily the most mature or most well-liked teammate when he was here when he was younger, but it's 10 years since he's been here last, right? So I think circumstances have changed a lot, and it really is just kind of it's I want to give points to somebody who can come up with the most fun Verlander fact, because I've gone through a couple so he Verlander made his debut 2 years before Rick Porcello was drafted. Rick Porcello and Verlander pitched together for 6 years, and Rick Porcello has been retired for 5 years. And Verlander's back. And the other one that my buddy Rob was like, you should have a segment where you go, is this pitcher better than Bonderman? And you go back to the day, Verlander and Bonderman were like the dual young aces. They were going to be the 1-2. Verlander is 4 months younger than Jeremy Bonderman. Bonderman has not pitched in 13 years. So I don't know. It's wild. It's something I didn't expect to see.
Another one that Justin Verlander was drafted like 2 months after Kevin McGonigal was born.
Yeah. No, that's crazy.
Yep.
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
But yeah, Uper. I mean, did you expect this at all? Or
well, for years I've been on the train of bringing him back, so I was excited to see it. But no, I did not think. I thought after, since we didn't know the extent of the Olson news necessarily, I certainly thought pitching wise after Valdez came on board that was going to be it. So no, didn't see this coming. And it's amazing that how many fans are happy. And, a lot of people have been asking for this for a long time. And I always usually put it to the old saying that if a general manager listens to the fans, he'll be sitting with them soon, right? It's not always the best idea, but I think this is a good idea. I think the kind of competitor that dude is, he will find a way to compete this year. If he stays healthy, he finished last year pretty strong. I think he can continue to do that.
He's going to be so motivated. I think that's the thing. I don't think there's anything else that he could have done or anywhere else he could have gone where he would feel the way he's going to be feeling over the next, 6 weeks, and just bringing that level of, excitement and enthusiasm at this point in his career, it can only be good for him. And, you can kind of see how bad he wanted to be here by the deal, right? Like he's getting $2 million, they're going to push 13 million off till 2030 and beyond. He knew they couldn't afford to do a whole lot more, in a big way with the payroll already, kind of brushing the luxury tax here. And, he obviously wanted to be here. He said something, along these lines in the offseason, like, I kind of reached out last year, they didn't seem to have much interest. So, I think he's always kind of, wanted his career to kind of end this way. We get the queen back, authoress of the greatest tweet in Detroit Tigers history. He's a young father. Well, he's not that young, but he's got young children now. Definitely a much more mature, character than he was, in his days with the Tigers when he was the Ferrari driving hotshot. And everything you've seen from him with the Giants and the Mets and the later period with the Astros. He was a good teammate. Always talked about mentoring, the younger guys around him. Obviously Hunter Brown and Houston has had a lot to say about Verlander's impact on him and all that. So, he definitely, he knows his role now, is I guess how I would put it. He knows he's still lucky to be pitching at this age, lucky to have a chance to come back and compete with the team he grew up with. And I think we'll get the best out of him, whatever that is. And, they signed Alex Cobb last year, kind of with the idea that like, okay, well, when he's healthy, he probably will pitch fine. And if he's not healthy that much, that's okay. We can just stash him on the injury list. It might work out the same way. Like at any time Justin Verlander has an ouchie in his neck, I'm putting him on the IL for 10 days, or 15 days, and calling up, Montero or whoever else it is. You can take every opportunity to nurse this thing through the season and keep him as healthy as he can be. And, and that allows you to use your younger options, whether it's Melton or Montero or whatever they decide to do.
Mike, I gotta ask you this. You were barely in high school when he was first as a rookie season, Mike?
I was a freshman in 2006, right? Freshman in high school. That's right.
Okay, all right. I thought for some reason I thought you were in 8th grade or something. But what is this?
Well, that's 1 year difference, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe junior. I don't know. I'm talking on my ass here for a second, but no. But how stoked are you about this? You represent a whole different type of vibe.
Well,
the rest of us.
I think it's like this is the perfect situation for both sides right now. It's just like, it's the right time. I think in years past, when people wanted Justin Verlander, they wanted him to come back and be Justin Verlander. They wanted to be like, oh, we need the pitching. We need another front end guy. And I think that's what people were looking for in years past. But this year, that's not his role. Brandon was talking about it. Like he understands his role. His role is going to be 5th starter. I would not be surprised if we see Justin Verlander start skipped because he's 43. Like, he doesn't have to be that guy. And I feel like for him, there is, I mean, you said he was motivated, but I don't think it doesn't matter how he does, like, from his perspective, I guess. Like, he has already cemented a legacy here, right? Like, having a bad season is not going to change anything else. So, like, for him, it's a win because if this is it and he doesn't have it anymore, like, that's okay. He's back with the franchise that's just happy for him to be there right now. But if he is something, he's going to contribute to a top-of-the-line rotation. So it's the perfect situation for him to come here now on a one-year deal. It's just like the perfect storm of, I don't know. I think I wouldn't have thought it made much sense in years past, but it makes sense right now. And I don't know. I've moved on from Justin Verlander because I've had Scooble on my team for a while. Like, I'm not like in awe. I'm not like, oh my God, I can't believe he's back. But like, it's definitely going to be interesting to see him back in Detroit for sure.
And here's the thing that it cracks me up about 2 weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago, Scott Harris, the Athletic gave the Tigers a C- or C+ or something like that for their grade. Everybody wanted it. I'm not saying everybody. Sorry, that's not proper for me to say. But Verlander, it was sort of like everybody hated Scott Harris. I thought Scott Harris didn't do enough. And everybody has to remember, the offseason does not end until tomorrow. Technically, and so I thought it was really weird that everybody was getting written off by that. But yeah, I mean, Verlander is throwing, by the way, if you're in case you're curious about his velocity, he's sitting at 93 right now, slider sitting at 87. So, but the Tigers are going to maximize. They're going to be, this is a different, and that's another thing too. This is a completely different franchise in terms of development and how they view players than when they were the bitterness of, and I had to think about this for a second. I was like, well, maybe, maybe they're still bitter about what happened with the Sports Illustrated article and blah, blah, blah. But then I thought about it. I was like, well, no, that's a completely different front office. That's a completely, it's night and day now. And so you have, and we talked to Ryan Garco earlier. You even hear it in the responses and everything like that. It's these players have much more personalized coaching. They're identifying things. They're getting the most out of players. Like last year at the trade deadline, for example, everybody was talking about ragging on the fact that they didn't do enough, but the fact that they're able to trade
Mike Ashman.
No, Mike Ashman.
Josh Randall.
Yeah, Josh Randall.
Jim Jarvis.
Enrique
Jarvis. I was going to say, I was waiting for you to say Jarvis, Chris. Jarvis. Those guys that somebody else liked out of really, I mean, this is a draft from the 2024 draft. That is saying something. And so I think that you got to give credit to Scott Harris for looking at Verlander and seeing what they would possibly use out of him. Last year, they were like, not right now, but look at what happened with Reese Olson. But this is a completely different front office, and you got to give credit where credit's due on that.
One of my commenters at Bless You Boys had a great line though, which was that Verlander had to go to the Giants and become an old Giants pitcher before Scott Harris would sign him.
That is funny. I think you guys have all touched on it here, but it really is. It's perfect because of Tarek Skubal, because of Framber Valdez, because he doesn't need to be Justin Verlander anymore. He can just go out there and be an aging Hall of Famer who can help your team. And he's also happens to be a franchise icon. Like that's like a bonus here. They're not bringing him back for pity. They're not bringing him back to, work middle relief. They're bringing him back because they're a contender and he can help them win. And it is like the Alex Cobb signing last year. He's like their fourth or fifth starter. I was just looking. So I sorted on Fangraphs. But 82 pitchers last year who threw at least 140 innings. And if you sorted by FIP, Tarek Skubal, number 2. Framber Valdez, number 12. Justin Verlander, 32, Jack Flaherty, 33, Casey Mize, 35. So your 5-man rotation is 5 of the top 35 starters in baseball. That's pretty good. Now, you can't just automatically move that to this year, but it's a pretty good place to start from. So I think Tigers fans should be really excited, not just because Verlander is the icon, but because he helps the team.
And I mean, if you look at his stuff too, he's just continued to like try to tweak things and evolve. And I am curious to see what that looks like again this year. I mean, you said he was throwing 93. I think he averaged 93.9 miles per hour on the four seamer last year, which is still, about major league average. He can still run it up there 96, 97 when he has to. And, if they only need to use him for, 5 innings, and especially early on, I wouldn't hate to see kind of like someone mentioned the soft 6-man rotation a little bit, mixing someone else in, using Montero or Melton, like when the schedule is really packed in April and May to kind of get them through the kind of tough early months where you don't really want to stretch everybody out too hard. You kind of lean on Framber and Skubal because that's what they're there for. Nobody else needs to go super deep. Justin, was working on a sweeper last year, and that pitch actually was pretty good for him in the second half. And we all know he pitched well in the second half. He came on pretty strong, and you just hope he can kind of carry that over.
Well, and
wait, before you say anything else, first and foremost, Dan Hayden, thank you for the $5, and thank you very much.
Holy cow!
Holy cow! How do you say that, Chris?
Demo ESU. How's that?
Oh my God.
Demo.
Yeah,
Demo ESU
for the $100 or $99 donation.
Thank you.
And you get hold on.
That's amazing.
Off the Frickers building.
And you know what? You get this too, actually.
I think he's going to be just fine.
Are we doing the trifecta there? All right. Thank you so much, man.
He just paid for all the nachos at the ballpark.
Oh yeah. You go ahead. I'm sorry. As you were going to say.
No, I was going to take on to what Brandon was saying is, if the schedule falls right and depending how he stays healthy, he's going to get 7 to 10 starts possibly against the AL Central, which ain't bad.
Yeah.
Who's the scariest lineup he faces there? So it really does work out pretty well for him possibly on that front.
And I'll give a hat tip to I think Ghost Mav in our Discord was pointing out that like they could set it up to if they want to. And AJ Hinch has been known to do things like this. Their first 6 games are on the road on the West Coast. You can set it up so Verlander's second start of the year is the home opener, which I think would be absolute madness. Now, do you want to do that? Do you want to get Skubal another start? That it's a fun thing to think about. But it's just kind of like a fever dream, right? You got Skubal and you got Verlander on the same team. Like these are 2 of the best pitchers we'll ever see in our entire life, and it's fun.
Yeah, and they're Tiger uniforms. I mean, you think about it for guys like myself and Brandon and Uper, who grew up with some of the worst Tigers pitching staffs of all time. The 1996 team with Scott Sanders in that rotation, the Felipe Lira era. We grew up with a lot of crappy pitching. I mean, after the Jack Morris and Dan Petrie left, it was bad. I mean, even the free agent signings of Mike Moore and Tim Belcher, like some of these guys, some of these names was like going back to. I'm like, we are witnessing an era of Tigers pitching that we have not seen in quite some time. And now you have the guy who kind of started it all full circle. And then you have Framber Valdez, who will be taking the spot as Reese Olson and Jackson Jobe will be hitting the 60-day IL. So those are 2 spots right there in case you're curious of how that's going to work. The other thing too about this is it allows you to give a chance for Troy Melton to develop. He might have to start the season Toledo or whatever the case is, and that's fine. You don't have to rush this kid, and I say kid, but he is a kid, into a pressure spot situation. Bring him back like they did the second half of the year, maybe, and give him a fresh amount of innings. You can do a lot of things now. You go like 8 or 9 starters deep, and especially if you have a guy, one of the non-roster invites, if that ends up working out, which I still think my dark horse in camp is Troy Watson. I mean, I think Troy Watson's a guy. After talking to Chris about this, I realized like he is going to. I was talking about him being a reliever, but he does have starter upside. But the one thing is that second time, third time through the order, he gets a little beat up. But a guy like Troy Watson can come out of nowhere and surprise you this year, and he could be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of depth guys. You still got Sawyer Gibson Long. You still got, maybe Ty Madden comes back and can give you something. I mean, none of these things are thrilling, but we all know you're going to use, 12 or 13 starters pretty much every season. You're going to need a lot of these guys. And the thing about stacking things up front is obviously baseball is different than it used to be. We still talk about 5-man rotation, but the game is a lot different because the tournament, in October goes a lot deeper, and you've got to be in a position after the deadline where you can play for 3 full months rather than like 2 months and a short season, a short series or two. So, I mean, you have Verlander, you have all these options. You can kind of, space things out, keep guys healthy in the first half, and then you just season to taste in the second half. And you hope by then on the offensive side, you've got McGonigal and Clark, Briseño, 1 or 2 of those guys maybe can comes up and contributes for you. And you're a stronger team in the second half. So, yeah, I mean, I just think all around, like bulking up the rotation to start the season like this feels like the right move. You wouldn't have needed to do this if you didn't have the Olson injury, but since he's there, adding Verlander in makes all the sense of the world to me now, and it fits in a way that, like Mike said, it never really did before. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked about this.
Yeah,
I just wonder if the rotation, if it
sometimes
works
it can just be fun, Sometimes baseball can just be fun.
Absolutely. I just wonder if the rotation works out as they project and things go well deep into the summer. How much does that slow down what they do with Jackson Joe? I mean, does he take the whole year off, or does he come back when he's ready no matter what?
I mean, I assume they're going to use him in the bullpen probably, right? Unless he absolutely looks great and everything is just, rock solid. So, yeah, I mean, you would think, they know that the rotation beyond this year looks rather sketch. So they can't go risking the golden boy again. That would be bad. So, yeah, it'll probably just come down to them, trying to take it like they would with anything else and just trying to make sure he's 100% good to go, I would assume.
Yeah, and I've already heard rumblings that Job's recovery is going very well. Like it's the time, like it could be one of those shorter timelines, but even still, I don't think you rush him back. Like you get him back, maybe get him throwing 3 innings at the most, right? Like at a time down in the minors, and maybe he comes up and he's a weapon out of the bullpen. And it's like those, like it is kind of wild thinking about how many important innings Troy Melton handled at the end of last year into the playoffs, and now he's emergency starter. I mean, having him in the bullpen makes you a better team, but I think it's more valuable for the organization to continue using him as a starter in AAA, as much as that might be a bummer.
Yeah,
just because we know that starters get hurt. You're not going to go through a full season. Carter Montero has like 160 innings the last 2 years, and he was not in the rotation either year. Yep. So having Melton as your emergency number 6 starter is amazing. So.
And if they want to use him that way as the up-down guy, he's got the options to do it, whereas Montero's on his last option year. So maybe it's time to think about just making him a reliever and going with it. I don't know.
Yeah. And I guess one thing we should discuss here, and this is somewhat bittersweet. We've touched on it a little bit here, but Reese Olson, there were rumors and worries there. And yes, he's out for the year. And beyond that, this is a shoulder labrum surgery, which unfortunately has about a 67% success rate, meaning about 2/3 of pitchers who have this come back and pitch again. So there's like a 1 in 3 chance we never see Reese Olson again, unfortunately, which really sucks because he's a talented guy, and you hope, he's young enough, you hope he can work through it, but the shoulder is a tough one. So that part of this really sucks, and it almost feels like we're not mourning him properly here because of all the celebration with Verlander and Valdez.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic about it, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely a serious situation. And as soon as as soon as we heard that there was still shoulder trouble, the second straight year, it's been 7 months since he went on the injured list or whatever, 8 months since last July. It's going to be surgery, and it's it's not going to be pretty. I was kind of hoping for more of like a rotator cuff, clean out some bone chips or something like that type of situation. But yeah, the labral tear is not an ideal one to go through. So we'll just have to hope for the best there for him in the future.
Is that the similar injury to what Chris Archer had, or Archer had, or am I thinking?
He had a shoulder issue, but I can't remember if it was specifically like the labrum or what. Yeah, I don't remember.
I didn't go back and look at a ton of them. I did do I went looking for success stories, right? And there are some. Trevor Hoffman tore his labrum when he was 35 and came back and was good again for like 4 more years. And Chris Carpenter, with Blue Jays, then Cardinals, tore his labrum and then had complications, basically missed 1.5 years and came back and managed to win the Cy Young and have, make a couple All-Star appearances. So it's not a death knell by any means. The one
Rays. Yeah, it was
thoracic outlet. Yeah.
Thank you.
The the one thing, and somebody pointed out this in the Discord, and I forget their name, but they also pointed out that Hoffman and Carpenter were both pretty big dudes, and Olson is not a very large guy, and that's always been a little bit of the concern. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bummer. Hopefully he comes back healthy, but yeah, certainly a downer there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where you can, again, the philosophy, you can never have enough pitching, but it's also, it'll be interesting to see how if there's anything like if they I don't want to say experimental surgery or anything like that, but I'm always curious with the way advances are every year. I feel like every year there's some sort of advance with that. So maybe something comes up.
Well, and he had the best guy, right? Kevin,
Meister, the shoulder meister.
Yeah, the shoulder meister. So, he's getting the best surgery possible. I don't know, maybe JV knows some European clinic where they can put his blood in there and infuse it with, midi-chlorians or whatever the hell they do over there, and see what happens.
Little robots, yeah.
I think it's adrenochrome, right? Isn't that what they
Yeah, there you go. Nanobots, adrenochrome, midi-chlorians. Yeah, the triple cocktail.
Yeah, but yeah, I think we've properly mourned him now. We get back to being excited about Framber Valdez and Justin Verlander.
Yeah,
traded out the rosy-faced young pitcher for a dude in his 40s. Like, it's just weird when you put them together like that. Like, wow. The average age of the roster probably went up a full year from that move. Huh?
Yeah. A couple of big Verlander or big Astros champions here on the team now. So
yeah, on the plus side, like all these Verlander articles I've had in my head that I've wanted to write for so long. Just look out, folks. I'm sorry, it's all coming out. I've always wanted to go back and look at the way they handled him and his arm angle and stuff in 2006 and 2007 and just tear him to shreds for that. I've got my hey, it's stupid that we don't count postseason in terms of guys' all-time stats article. It's all coming. I'm excited.
By the way,
what's the over/under on camera shots of Verlander and Skubal sitting next to each other on the bench?
Oh God!
Well, if FanDuel had something like that, I hope that they should on their website, because that's a prop bet that
put it
over.
It's going to be rich in nostalgia this year, and as well. There's going to be that stuff. There's going to be like him hanging out with Riley Green and teaching Troy Melton things. They should show the immaculate inning to Torque and Green and have them react to it. Hey, Tiger social media, hit me up. I've got ideas.
Yeah, I'll use the member berries from the South Park episode.
Well, there was that cool. Skubal seemed excited. He tweeted out a GIF of Verlander celebrating, and that's fun to see that.
Yeah,
I prefer this to. Did you know Matt Stafford and Clayton Kershaw were? Cool. Much prefer this. I'll take all this over that.
Yeah.
By the way, so with the official signing of Framber, Tigers forfeit their third-round draft pick. The Nationals will be gaining the 134th pick in the draft after losing a qualified free agent.
And so, I was wrong about that. It's not their third overall pick because that is a competitive balance pick. You don't lose those, so it's actually their third pick. So they still have 3 picks in the top 70.
Yeah. Everybody was wrong about that, though. The beat writers, everybody initially. I did the exact same thing. I just, that the competitive balance picks are protected for revenue sharing team, I guess is what.
And the third round pick, it's not a nothing burger, but it's not a big deal either when you consider what they got and the length of contract they got for Valdez.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
That's the sort of move you should make, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. If you're competing, this is not something you're not going to clutch your third round pick and be like, oh no,
exactly.
Gio Arriera, we need him.
And oh God, Gio Arriera. Another little thing about this is that, there are some concerns about Framber Valdez just being kind of a hothead in general and maybe not vibing with the clubhouse or whatever. And so it's not a bad idea to have JV there as well. They know each other, they respect each other. And it's the same thing with Hinch. So that doesn't hurt either. It's just like a little kicker if people have concerns that, Framber's going to try to throw a fastball through Dylan Dingler's helmet. Personally, I think he's going to take one look at Dylan Dingler's steely jawline and be like, all right, this is more like it. I think I'm in good shape here.
So I looked it up. He did pitch to Jake Rogers a handful of times in the minors when he was with Houston. So there's that connection. We also we talked to a Houston beat writer last night, so I learned a lot about Framber Valdez. I learned his nickname is La Grasa.
Nice.
Which basically it sounds like it means it's like it literally means like grease or oil, but it means like smooth or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's,
no, that's like like sometimes like my dad would
Lick.
say,
Yeah.
well, grasa, or like yeah, well, never mind. I can't say how he used grasa, but I'll just say it was in a very sexual term, and I'm not going to go into.
Move on.
Yeah,
and the Astros writer said that you smell Valdez before you see him. He wears a ton of cologne and he's all swagged out and stuff like that. And then I also had the fun, and this is not out. The podcast is not out, but I asked him if Verlander was going to sign with the Astros. So that'll be fun when people hear that. But yeah, like another situation where he doesn't have to be the lead dog. Valdez doesn't, so you can hopefully he can keep him in check. And then Jack Flaherty was pretty good a couple years ago. We know he's been up and down. He's a pretty damn good pitcher too. And Casey Mize is an absolute bulldog. So this is a fun rotation if they can stay healthy.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, there was some turd, and I say he's a turd because he's a turd. Somebody who pointed out.
Thanks for clarifying.
Well, I say that because it was just a tweet, but something along the lines. I'm not sure if he was Robert James. The mustache, the handlebar mustache is La Grasa.
There we go.
No, it was somebody who put this out earlier that the Tigers should be investigated because of how much they've been spending. And I'm not sure if it was tongue in cheek or not.
I think it was.
I think it was tongue in cheek, but the way I don't know. Like sometimes it's hard to tell on Twitter.
Yeah,
but it was just saying like the Tigers have to spend over. Look at the payroll, and I looked at Cleveland's. It was $85 million. Like 85. The Twins who are at 101.
Chris Illich just flexing all of a sudden.
Yeah. Also, Chris is, you forget he got a divorce? No, he's just like, make it rain. Like, and again, this just 2 weeks ago, everybody was like, screw you, Chris, blah, 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 all this stuff.
Well, hey, I mean, shout out to everybody who said that because maybe we badgered him into this. That's how I'd like to think of it. We weren't wrong. They didn't really go very hard last year, and it wasn't looking too good this year. So, I mean, okay. They've done their part and we all feel better and, congrats to them and we appreciate it. But, I mean, everybody had a pretty realistic beef, I think, for the most part. So I'm not making any apologies for complaining about them either.
Oh, by the way, James Harden gets $85 million.
For what?
Oh, yeah. $25 million of the Guardians cap is Jose Ramirez, too. So that's like 1/3 of their payroll.
Oh,
but the Tigers are now 9th in total payroll for 2026.
Wow. Okay. Max, thank you for the donation. Much appreciated.
Max.
Yeah, I mean, this is
the Frickers building.
This has been a slightly.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. I apologize for stepping on the drops. This has been a slightly narrative changing offseason. And honestly, it's slightly narrative changing like 3 weeks. Because there was everything people were complaining about was still there up until a couple weeks ago. So there's still stuff we need to see from this front office. You've got a really solid farm system. If you need to get a bat, you need an extra bat. You got to go do it at some point this year, and you got to use some trade chips. So we'll see if that comes down, or not. Maybe the young guys all take steps forward, and it's just a monstrous offense because they've bolstered from within.
Yeah, they wisely held on to everybody, and Max Anderson and how you leave Rake and everybody else. But yeah, I mean they can't really go through this thing again, and where Malloy and then Young kind of lose their prospect value and just kind of end up in that weird middle zone. It would be great to see Scott Harris pull off kind of a big trade. I know some people are kind of speculating already that like signing all this pitching, well, now they're going to trade, whatever, Melton or Cater Montero and Colt Keith for an infield. I don't think so. I think this is pretty much what it is. I mean, I'd love to see a better defensive infielder who can hit, but that's just probably not in the cards right now.
Yeah,
Alex Bregman is gone.
Yeah, Bregman's gone. But the Tigers also made a couple other moves today and yesterday, signing Austin Slater. And there was this joke on a Discord that was like Slater from Saved by the Bell. And then they signed Connor Pickerton. Am I saying that right?
Pilkington. Yeah. Pilkington.
And Joe Campanella. I can't pronounce it.
Campagna.
I like Pickleton better.
Yeah.
I think we should go with Pickleton.
And those are both minor league signings. And so for Joe, by the way, Joe is a independent league signing who actually is a U.S. PBL player. So he did play for the Utica Unicorns. So if anybody locally speaking, Joe was he was from Slippery Rock, which is isn't that university that they use all the time at Michigan games?
Yep.
Okay, so Slippery Rock. Yeah, so Slippery Rock, he was there, but he also played. Yeah, he played in 2019 for the Unicorns. He's been in indie league ball for a while now, and continuing to scout the Northeast because he's a Northeastern guy. Yeah, so he's a shortstop catcher.
Bringing in all the Michigan guys. You know, Dugan Darnell's back from Northville grad. Jalen Evans they picked up the other day. Detroit guy.
Pretty good.
Yeah, Mike, you got the Unicorns hat there?
Oh, absolutely. I like unicorns, but that's like a whole nother thing.
Wait, you like unicorns? Like you're one of those like My Little Pony people? Like
dude, no, Roger.
I know.
Why would a horse have a stabby device on its head to murder things, to hurt things? Why are unicorns marketed to little children? I don't get it. Why is it a little girl's thing? They're literally death horses. So yes, I
in ancient times they just rode around with like leopards, just stacked up like skewers. You know.
Yeah, right.
It's the official national animal of Scotland. Scotland's not a soft country.
Sword horse, Matt. Matt
Right.
was it? Yeah.
No,
Mike surprised.
The other thing along these lines.
Shout out to my boy Rainbow Dash. All right.
The Pilkington thing, like the Tigers really, they just went bonkers with these kind of AAA veteran arms this offseason.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a response to what they did at the trade deadline last year, where they're like, we're just not going to get caught without some relief options. But I have absolutely no idea where they're going to fit all these guys. I assume half of them are going to end up in other organizations.
Sure.
But like Phil Bickford, all these people that you've heard of before and have seen some time, and other guys who are still in the system, like Ricky Vanasco.
Yeah.
There's just so many options now. I don't know how the hell they're going to work through it and figure out who's useful. But
I like a sicko. I went through and wrote up.
That was pretty good.
Oh yeah.
I
wrote up all the non-roster invitees over at Bless You Boys. So you can look through all that. And the thing I keep seeing is plus extension everywhere.
Yeah.
Plus extension guys all over the map. They just love themselves some plus extension. And if a guy can stride way down the mound, they're all excited. So.
That was a good article.
Scott Efros, I mean, before he got hurt a couple of years ago, he was a usable relief pitcher. I mean, if they can get that guy healthy, who knows?
Cole Waits too. I mean, Cole Waits had pretty nasty stuff when he was with the Giants, and I'm sure Scott Harris is like, let me bring my boy back and see if we can get him healthy and stuff. So,
and I like the Connor Pickleton. I said it another different way, but the reason why I like him is that outside of his walk rate, his strikeout numbers, he had a K per 9 over 10 and just short innings of work, but he's a guy who can get strikeouts, good fastball, slider. I thought his changeup was really good too. So
he does have a good changeup, and that's another one. The Tigers love the guys who can get either handed hitters out. So he's sort of like what I had hoped Jared Schuster would be when Jared Schuster was drafted. Big fastball, changeup guy, slider's decent, could work. Could be useful at least.
I just thought like you signed a bunch of these guys. You only need one of them to work. You sign 8 of them, one works. You're a genius. And if you get the 20 greatest innings of Sean Gunther's career from one of these guys, you really got something that might help you down the stretch.
Yeah. And I mean, we do this every year. Everybody looks at all these guys and they're like, "Oh, these guys all suck." And it's like, well, yeah, they didn't get a major league deal. That's just how this works. You're just kind of sifting, trying to find that one guy. I mean, Dietrich Enns worked out last year, just not so much for us. Matt Gage was decent. They have some ability to find these guys. So
PJ Poulin was all right for the Nats, I think.
Yeah.
No, it's they're just, somebody said Tigers have more arms than that reminded me of the guy Raj asked me about earlier today. He's like, who the hell is Inohan Paniagua? I'm like, they did this in the minors too. They added a whole bunch of minor league arms. So they're not messing around with the depth. We'll see how it works out.
The problem is a lot of those arms are just hacked off in the surgical department right now down in the lower minors, like all those guys. So they have plenty of room to add some guys until we start seeing some of the draft picks who the prep picks who've been all injured basically start to come around. So they need arms.
Garco seemed pretty. He wasn't optimistic, but he was optimistic, but like. He was like, we're going to get Hall and Scheffelbein and Rayner healthy and get that 2025 draft class going this year. And so, that'll be huge because that's 3, top 2-round picks. And obviously Rayner's in a different stratosphere, but getting those arms healthy just to have, if they show promise this year, then those are solid trade chips even. So like, it's be a lot of that, but a lot of veteran depth all throughout the system now.
Yeah, and that's where like it's funny. Chris and I are doing our mock Erie Toledo rosters, and we're working on it right now. And I've already had to change my Toledo Erie already 5 times in the last 24 hours because I thought I said it to Chris, and I was changing the format, and then all this happened today. I'm like, crap! Like it's so. I know it's only 1.0. I mean, we can have many chances at it, but one of the things that we were trying to get with Garco was, as far as like we were joking around about West Michigan and some of the strides that some of the infielders made, like Jack Penny spoke very highly of Woody Hadeen, who never played the outfield last year and did a good job of stepping in there. The versatility, and that's what the Tigers it continuing the philosophy of having these players that are very versatile, and it's showing this offseason too. And so I don't know, like that's. I'll leave you guys with this before we get out of here. Do you think where the Tigers stand right now, as far as on paper? Obviously, I think they're going to win the division. We all think they're going to win the division, right? I mean, that's still the case. But is this enough to knock off a team like Toronto and Seattle? Seattle just got Brendan Donovan, which we haven't even discussed, and that's a good pick. Seattle has had a really good offseason. They've continued to reinforce what they're trying to get back to. They were pretty close on beating Toronto last year. And they weren't too far off. So I don't know. In terms of like Central aside, where do they stack up with the rest of the American League?
I don't understand, well, why can't they take at least one more step than they took this year, right? Get to the ALCS. If they get there, they're in the Final Four. That's not bad. I mean, that's, everything from there is pretty much a bonus.
I mean, I'll just point to what I was saying earlier, like the first half, like you got to get through that and then you season the taste and go from there. The thing that the Tigers have that these other teams don't have is that we've got McGonigal and Clark, and maybe one of those guys can help carry you down the stretch and into the postseason. So, I mean, teams evolve over the whole course of the season. So right now, I don't think they're the leading team in the AL. They're one of them, but I mean, things will change a lot, and I think they're well positioned. Like last year, the only prospects you really had was Job. We all knew Melton could maybe contribute, at some point down the season, but you didn't have like a stack of good prospects who all might help out, and now they do. This is the season where you might be able to get, help from Max Anderson or Hao Yu Lee or somebody else. So I mean, I think that all bodes well for them, even though this offense is still like, more kind of like above average than like really, really good or great. They have their flaws. It's, center field, shortstop are going to have questions. It's not a perfect roster, but I think they're in a position to have a good first half and make some adjustments and maybe get the help they need that other teams can't really look forward to adding out of the farm system as they go along. So all that gives me some optimism.
My expectations are ALCS after this. Like after that, before this flurry of signings, I mean, I talked about it a lot on the podcast in the past. I thought that Scott Harris was okay with the level of success that they had gotten to. I wouldn't have said anything past the point that they were at this year, But now that I'm seeing actual moves to improve the major league roster, it just means that I think that I would expect them to take the next step.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think, the Blue Jays don't look that scary. Get Dylan Cease might be good for them, and that might help them out a lot. But, they let some guys go and added some. The Red Sox have a great pitching staff. They should be dangerous. But nobody's really scary in the American or in the American League in general. It's pretty much the Dodgers and everybody else. The Tigers could potentially hang with anybody else. And then you just hope you go up against the big boss and things kind of turn your way.
Yeah, I mean, you could just look. I was just looking at the Fangraphs projections. Right now, they have the Tigers with the 6th best win total in all of baseball. 2nd best in the American League, 86.6. Only the Mariners are higher at 87.6. They're ahead of the Yankees, ahead of the Blue Jays, ahead of the Red Sox. On paper, looks really interesting. We need to see more consistency from the from Riley Green, from Kerry Carpenter, from Spencer Torkelson. Those guys need to do what they can do. And like to see steps forward from Colt Keith, Parker Meadows, Gleyber Torres needs to be the steady force there. And, if they could take a step forward on offense, this is like a 90-win team, possibly. Again, we've seen good teams on paper before. I'll never forget the 2008 Tigers. So you got to go out there and play and win the games. But,
we do have AJ Hinch,
Yeah, given what they've done the last couple of years, I think you have to feel pretty confident about it. But again, you got to go out there and make it happen.
Yeah, I feel real confident that I think Dylan Tingler is going to have another step forward this year in terms of offense, maybe hit that 21 or 20 home run mark. I think that's totally feasible. And one of the things too, before we get out of here, what was interesting was talking to Garco about Eduardo Valencia, who has been, they're really high on his bat. And this was, Chris, didn't he say something along the lines that his bat's always been good, but the problem was he's never going to stay healthy?
Yeah, he said that they have like their internal guys always have like they'll write down like guys that they're really interested in, guys that they think are good. And he said Kenny Graham was always had Eduardo Valencia as one of his favorite hitters in there. He just never kind of put it all together until last year. So he was happy to see that.
I'll listen to the show tomorrow, but did he talk about John Peck?
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Briefly, yeah. If you want to hear us talk about Kevin McGonigal, Max Clark, Josue Briseño, or Bryce Rader, no, listen, we didn't really. I got him to talk about Yonan Koba and Salcedo and Andrew Sears.
Nice. I mean, the big guys we all know. Like, there's 10,000 articles all saying the same thing about Kevin McGonigal. He's a freaking monster. You're gonna love him. It's just a question of whether or not he plays shortstop or second base long term. That's pretty much it. Like we've all said it to death. So that's good. I'm glad you guys went deep dive on him a little bit.
Well, and then one other thing I'll say, and I think this might be an organizational philosophy, and it might explain why we haven't seen them like chase velocity and stuff. He mentioned a couple times what we're like. It came up with Elisalt. It came up when we talked about Jordan Yost. It was absolutely baseball hipsters.
Yeah. Look at the mustache.
He basically was talking about you got to let these guys grow. Like we don't want to force it. We want to let them. They're young. They've got room to grow. Let it happen. Let them get stronger naturally. He said basically they're not like they don't have Elisalt in like a velocity program. They're like his brother threw harder. We think he'll throw harder, but we're not going to force it. So I think that might be an interesting philosophy from them because you see so many other organizations kind of chasing strength and velocity, and they seem to want it to come naturally. They still care about nutrition and the weight room and all that stuff, but not really going overboard. So
not trying to force it. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check that out. I'll be editing it as soon as this pod is over. And again, thanks so much for everybody. The donations today were very, very unexpected, and thank you again. We have that GoFundMe out there, and as soon as Chris and I talk about air miles and stuff like that, we're going to be booking the tickets and getting that taken care of. But again, beyond grateful for everybody come out tonight. Check out all our great stuff over at blessyouboys.com. Brandon, what do you have going on over there?
I'm just desperately trying to keep up with all this and still keep churning out process reports. I got a long way to go, guys. I'm going to be a real busy man next week or two.
If you need some help, man, I'm doing reports myself. So if you need any assistance, just let me know.
Right on. Yeah, we can check back and forth. But yeah, it's just like me bleary at 2 a.m. like okay, more Roberto Campos. I'm almost into the 40 pluses, and then it starts to get more fun and easier there.
Yeah,
I don't have to go back and watch that much footage of anybody else, but yeah, I've watched an inordinate amount of minor league ball over the last month, like looking through like box scores, like, okay, I want to see this game where they had a really bad game and this game where they had a really good game, and then hunting it all down.
Yeah, that's a
lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but it's fun at the end to get that
going.
And so, Chris, when is that pod dropping with Evan, the Days of War?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Like we talked to Chandler Rome he's the Athletic. He's the Houston Astros beat writer, getting some background on Framber Valdez. He also talked to Lance Brzdowski. I couldn't make that when I was at work. And he's one of the best in the business at breaking down pitchers and talking about what they're doing and stuff. So that should be fun.
If people don't follow Lance Brzdowski, they really should. Like his YouTube channel is freaking awesome.
Just a phenomenal job. And
I don't even read the Driveline blog anymore because he explains things like much more succinctly. And I used to go down epic rabbit holes over there.
But it should be out tonight or tomorrow. I don't really know. That's up to the Robin Chan, great producer there for the Free. Yep.
Yeah, fantastic guy. So, And over at Roundtable Tigers, Chris Casanelli just did an article on Justin Verlander, so and then there's some other articles as well. We're working on a mock roster, so we should have something up. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, I just put out a newsletter breaking down the rosters for spring training, and there's going to be more stuff on our Patreon. Again, for free, we'll have some stuff for free people, and then we'll have some stuff for the tiers. As far as that goes, yeah, there's plenty of content going. You know what? I think tonight everybody's kind of based between the Super Bowl and everything else. Maybe people are not, but I guarantee you, because somebody was talking about how many people are watching live right now. It's okay. It was an emergency pod. It's a Tuesday night, and there's baseball starts tomorrow. So that is fantastic news. Yeah. And however you we have to however you consume your content. Thank you so much for listening. Stay classy, and we will talk to you. More than likely, there will probably be a show on Thursday, as of course,
it's baseball season.
Baseball season, best season.
We're back.
Yeah, best season, best shape of your life, best mustache of your life, however you see fit. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good night, everybody.